When NASA went out into space, it would logically find evidence of possibly more advanced beings. And it said in the charter, on the moon, Mars, or Venus. Well, advanced beings would have to be created by somebody, right? The resolution of this paradox is that Ed Mitchell has had something happen to his mind.
Oh, that answer I did know. Okay.
The astronauts, I believe, have been tampered with.
Yes.
There are all kinds of papers now coming out in the open literature about technologies which can selectively wipe out your memories on specific events. And I believe, and I have in the book, Mike and I carefully put in document after document after document of reference to all of the astronauts at one time or another have complained about not being able to remember what they did on the moon.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to Tarantula's Dream TV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast of Tarantula's Dream TV. I am your host, the Toast Ghost,
Samba.
Heyo, we're back, baby. Let's do this thing. I'm sounding still a little stuffy. See? You can hear it. But hopefully it won't interfere with the fun tonight. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. 9:30 open lines, as usual. If you have any questions for old Samba over here. On our topic of the night, we're talking part 2 of our look at the hidden occult history of our space program here in the U.S., more or less. And we're going to get into some NASA secrets as well. So please stick around and enjoy this wonderful little program we got over here. I want to welcome everyone to the show again. Sorry I had to take a little break there for a hot minute. Only a few weeks into season 2. Got a little head cold kind of situation, or maybe a sinus infection. I don't know what's going on. I got a lot of goo up in my head, as you can tell. There you go, see? So, sounding a little better, but still a little stuffy. So bear with me tonight. So let's get into that delicious, juicy, succulent, oh so succulent night meat.
We're not hitchhiking anymore.
There we go. Excuse me one second. There we go. So let's get into that succulent night meat. So on last Monday, I had gotten to some of the history of NASA, some of the occult history of NASA when it comes to their connection with Wernher von Braun, former Nazi scientist who was brought over to work on our space program, our rocket program through Project Paperclip, as well as the history of our boy Jack Parsons over here, who also had many a tie to the occult and whatnot, and his kind of connection with the rocket program. So he's kind of seen as I guess you could say, like one of the godfathers, one of the fathers of modern rocketry, and currently that's how we're getting to space. So all praise be to old Jack Parsons over there. But tonight we're going to get into some more NASA secrets and some more NASA occult ties. So let's begin with this juicy night meat. Now, throughout conspiracy circles, NASA has almost always been seen as a shadowy organization bent on hiding the truth on space travel and what exactly lies beyond our planet, assuming that there is anything beyond our planet. NASA has even garnered itself a slightly different acronym, and I've said this a number of times before on the show, Never a Straight Answer. They think that's so funny. NASA, never a straight answer. Because of this inherent distrust of the organization, conspiracy theorists have tried to tie the organization to nefarious deeds, including using space travel as a means to praise ancient Egyptian gods, infuse Luciferian imagery into patches and logos, and more. And we're going to get into some of those patches right now. So all these patches, I'm going to throw up a little slideshow for y'all that's just going to be rotating as I talk about these patches. I found on either planettruth.info or vigilanttcitizen.com, and I've definitely used Vigilant Citizen to kind of pull some information in the past. They're a great website if you're looking for just some wild conspiracy stuff. So let me throw up some of these badges over here, and I'm going to get into it. So one of the badges you're going to see has a alien gray at the top. Now this patch it has an acronym TENCAP, 10CAP, and it stands for Tactical Exploitation of National Capabilities, which already doesn't sound good, and is a collection of programs involving the cutting edge of warfare. The purpose of the Air Force 10CAP program is to exploit the current and future potential of existing national, commercial, and civil space systems and national air breathing systems, and to provide these capabilities to the warfighter as rapidly as possible. Yeah, they see this patch as kind of a suspect, that there's like a weird alien gray on this patch, and I do see it as kind of weird that they do have like a little weird alien just kind of hanging out on this patch, but I don't know. It is what it is. Now, in PsyOps, special almost invariably means black or highly classified. Does the highly classified part of the mission have anything to do with the fact that the badge bears the face of an alien? The saying at the bottom does not help. The phrase Oderint dum metuant is usually associated with Caligula, the first century Roman emperor whose name became synonymous with depravity, madness, tyranny. It translates as let them hate so long as they fear. So yes, very ominous, a very ominous patch for the Air Force and its connection with our space program. The next patch I want to get into as it's kind of cycling through here, and I'm probably, let me see if I can get to this patch real quick and maybe show it to you a little closer over here. There we go, this guy right here. The Dragon Patch. So the Dragon Patch, a giant angry dragon clutching the planet, bringing destruction from space. That's a nice way to symbolize space missions. In PsyOps symbolism, dragons typically represent signals, intelligence satellite launches. The dragon's wing pattern symbolizes the satellite's massive gold foil dish antenna meant to collect all types of information from Earth. The phrase omnis vestri substructio es servus ad nobis can loosely be translated to all your base are servant to us. This phrase does not make much sense except that it vaguely states that the world is owned by those who made that patch. So again, 2 for 2 on creepy patches over here. The next patch, let me pull that up real quick if I can get the slideshow going again. Right over here, there we are, is our good friend the Pyramid Patch. Now this patch is for an NRO spy satellite launch. Those familiar with this site will probably recognize this Illuminati 101 symbolism, an unfinished pyramid topped by the all-seeing eye. This all-seeing eye requires help. It needs spy satellites to even be more all-seeing. Now, the LMA at the bottom right, most likely refers to Lockheed Martin Aerospace, which is the ultimate Big Brother mega company working with the CIA, NRO, NSA, and IRS. Above the all-seeing eye is written Supra Summis, which can be translated to most superior and highest. The next patch I'm going to get into over here is one that I couldn't find an actual patch for, like a physical scan or picture of the patch, just this picture of the patch. So I'm not 100% sure if this is actually real or not. This could have been created and just posted on this Vigilant Citizen website, but I found it a number of times while looking for patches. Excuse me. So now this patch is considered, it's called the Minotaur patch. Now the Minotaur program is composed of top secret NRO spy satellite launching missions. Minotaurs are bull-headed creatures from Greek mythology that are always scary, always angry, violent, and merciless. Minotaurs bear many resemblances to the Middle Eastern deity Molech, a bull-headed god with the body of a man to whom child sacrifices were made. Now, in regards to the Route 66 imagery, the famous old American highway, Route 66, was laid out by Freemasons with the apparent intention of sending masses of automobile riders into a self-processing occult quote-unquote trip. Route 66 began at the Buckingham Fountain in Chicago, near the site of the University of Chicago's collection of Aztec ritual Incanamubla, and ended in Barstow, California in the Mojave Desert, which is for the Freemasons the cosmic graveyard of the West. The final destiny of Anubis, the celestial jackal, otherwise known as Sirius, there you go. So Apparently, if this version of Route 66 smacks of some medieval pilgrimage made more appropriately on a camel than by car, it is for good reason. Most of Route 66 was based on a road forged in 1857 by Lieutenant Edward Beale and his caravan of the U.S. Camel Corps. So there you go. I don't know. Get your kicks on Route 66. I always hated that song. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Route 66, even though it's just a route. But apparently it was conceived by Freemasons, according to conspiracy theorists. Now we just have a few more patches to highlight over here. This one is the Phoenix patch. Now the patch shows the moon, or potentially a comet, partially covering the Earth. If you look closely, there are letters in the detail of the gray astral body. What do they refer to? At the bottom of the patch, the Latin phrase is also enigmatic. Primoris gravis ex occasus. Primoris means first, gravis stands for important, heavy, or serious, and occasus means setting of the sun, the west, or fall. In other words, I don't know what it means. First heavy setting of the sun, the most important thing after the sunset? First serious fall. Regardless of the exact meaning, there seems to be an emphasis on the concept of darkness. So just something about the darkness. The Phoenix is partially covering the sun. It's wrapped in flames. There's a gray celestial body moving towards the Earth, and we're still talking about a spy satellite. So yes, very creepy. I don't know what to make of some of these patches. Now the last patch is probably my favorite patch in the group because of just the clear ties that it has. If I can pull it up here, I think I might have skipped it on accident. Sorry about that. It's going to come up here in just a second, and there we go. So this patch right here was my favorite looking through all the patches because of sort of what we talked about last week. Now, this is the PAN patch. Now, the PAN satellite was launched in September of 2009 and is so top secret that no military or government organization claimed to have built it. Now, a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket has launched with PAN, a classified satellite which will be operated by the U.S. government. The launch was on time at the start of a 2-hour, 9-minute launch window, which opened at 21:35 GMT or 17:35 local time. Unusually for an American government satellite, the agency responsible for operating the spacecraft has not been disclosed. Now, according to the patch, PAN stands for Palladium at Night. Palladium being a silvery white metallic element that is probably present in the satellite. The mission is so secret, however, that it is jokingly said that the name PAN actually stands for Pick a Name. Notice the subtle question mark underneath the rocket on the patch. Now, Pan is also the name of an ancient horned god important in occultism, and that has a strange link with the history of rocket science in the United States. That strange link is with Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons was known to recite Crowley's Hymn to Pan before each rocket test. So yeah, a little creepy for sure. A rocket or a satellite launch that no government organization is willing to claim, and the fact that they chose the name Pan, apparently Palladium at Night, but also, yes, this very kind of creepy occult tie with Jack Parsons and his sort of obsession with using the hymn to Pan and sort of praising the ancient god Pan during rocket launches, and still using that name all the way up until 2009. So yes, very suspect indeed, but there you go. So that's the end of the patches over here. I'm just going to turn off this little slideshow for you, and now we're going to get into our favorite little, one of our favorite occult Illuminati type groups, the Freemasons. They're going to make an appearance here tonight. So on July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 space shuttle made touchdown on the moon, putting humans on the moon for potentially the first time. Now, in conspiracy circles, the fact that this moon launch is kind of already up for debate, whether it happened, the reasons why it happened, and maybe there potentially could have been people put on the moon before this one. So for this purpose, we'll just say for the first time. Now, Buzz Aldrin, astronaut and second man on the moon, was also a 32 or 32nd degree Freemason. Now, Freemasons have been the target of conspiracy theories for decades, as we've talked about many times, as some see them as an Illuminati recruitment tool, a satanic secret cult, or the Illuminati themselves disguised as a simple fraternal organization. Now, this comes from the Scottish Rite mj.org. So they say, you might know him as one of the first men on the moon, but we know him as the first Mason on the moon. Brother Edwin Eugene, or Buzz, Aldrin Jr., was an active Mason and is a member of Clear Lake Lodge number 1417 AF and AM in Seabrook, Texas. He was born January 20th, 1930 in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, and attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, graduating third in his class in 1951. Brother Aldrin later went on to receive a PhD in astronautics from MIT in 1963. He served in the Korean War and is credited with 2 enemy fighter kills during his tour. Now, Brother Aldrin was initiated into Freemasonry at Oak Park Lodge number 864 in Albany and raised at Lawrence and Greenleaf Lodge number 169 in Colorado. He is also a member of York Rite and Arabia Shrine Temple of Houston. Now, on the crest of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon, the Grand Master of Texas approved Brother Aldrin's request to open a representation of the Grand Lodge of Texas on the moon and thereby establish Masonic territorial jurisdiction there. He also asked Buzz to carry a special deputation on his journey. Aldrin signed his deputation and confirmed that it was indeed carried to the moon. Now, I'm going to pull up a little picture here. This is a flag that was given to Buzz Aldrin. Now, this Aldrin carried a handmade silk Masonic flag on his space journey, embroidered with the words Supreme Council 33rd Degree Southern Jurisdiction, USA. After his mission on September 16th, 1969, Brother Aldrin visited the house of the temple in Washington, D.C., and presented the flag to Grand Commander Luther Smith. The flag is now located in the archives of the House of the Temple. So this is the picture of the flag. This is the flag that made it to the moon and was brought back. This is all above board. This is all official happenings. This isn't a conspiracy theory. Buzz Aldrin was a Mason, and apparently the Masons have jurisdiction on the moon. So there you go. The second picture is a picture of Buzz Aldrin with the actual flag on the moon from a book that we're actually going to get into the author of in just a second. But there you go. So say what you will about the Masons. They rule the moon up there. So conspiracy or not, it is a true story. Now, before we get into the second half of the show over here, I'm going to check the comments because it does look like it was kind of blowing up over here. So Eggs and Eyes Night Meat. Yes, love me some of that night meat. Hell yeah. Leonza AZ, hello Leonza. Some Space Meat, yeah, maybe for these space theme shows I should change it to Space Meat. Space Meat is such a sick band name. Who's to say it's not already a band? I don't know. Space Meat sounds like a band I'd listen to. Leonza, the octopus patch would be Space Meat's album cover. Eggs and Eyes, I'm directing their first music video. It's Gonna Melt Faces. So brutal. Eggs and Eyes, why are these patches actually really sick though? I don't know. Honestly, I kind of went through a little period earlier in my life. I just remembered it right now that I was kind of obsessed with sort of like military patches. My dad was in the Air Force for a long time, and I always loved his patches. He always had kind of a little collection of patches that weren't currently on his body. I don't know. Yeah, weren't sewn onto his uniform or whatever you want to call it. And yes, I love military patches. I don't know what about them, but these particular ones, they really go crazy. If you just search military patches, especially ones that have to do with space programs or kind of even ones that have to do with like sort of like mercenary style work. I don't know what you call it. Just kind of like secret soldier type work. They have a lot of crazy looking patches out there. So it's definitely worth a look over on the old internet. And where can you buy them? eBay. People sell them all the time, and I'm sure there's probably Etsy stores that specialize in scouring thrift stores and finding these patches, because a lot of people just kind of get rid of these patches. Benjamin, Route 66 just got so much cooler. Well, there you go. Hello there, Benjamin. Thank you for tuning in. And hopefully someday when road trips are going to come back in style, when we feel safe enough to like just travel to a whole bunch of different states and just hang out and stuff, maybe we'll have to take a trip down Route 66 and know that we're just cruising on the old Freemason highway over here. Leon's, we sell biodegradable merch, sunglasses. Camel Corpse is my startup. You know, as soon as I've heard this many a time, as soon as someone says something out loud like that, it becomes reality. So definitely, if you're going to start a company called Camel Corpse, you should copyright it now. I don't know. Write it in a letter. Send that letter to yourself and don't open it. There you go. Poor man's copyright over there. So it looks like we still got the comments pouring in, but I'm going to get back to the meat of the night over here, save some of these comments for a little bit later in the evening. As we unfortunately don't have a new video by our good friend Spumoni, old Spumone. He was a little tired this week, along with your boy Samba over here. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to make contact with the mothership over here, but rest assured by next week he'll be up and running and answering your questions, as he does have some questions to answer. So look for old Spumone next week on the show. Now, in the second half of the show, I want to get into someone who I've listened to many times over the years. He's a frequent guest on Coast to Coast. He's honestly one of my favorite and least favorite sort of like conspiracy theorists and space program investigators, Richard C. Hoagland. Now, I don't know anyone on the chat if you're familiar with Richard C. Hoagland, but if you're not, I'll just come out right now and say it. He's one of my favorites because he just has a lot of crazy, I won't say crazy, a lot of interesting ideas on what's out there in space, kind of what NASA's been doing, the fact that he feels like there's a secret space program, a lot of interesting ideas, but he's one of my least favorite because he is boring as all hell. I hate the way he shares his information. I feel like he thinks he's just God on Earth, talking about this stuff. I don't know. He's very full of himself. But Hoagey over here, old Hoag, he's got a ton of information, so we're going to get into a little bit right now. Now, this is from Wikipedia. Richard Charles Hoagland is an American author and a proponent of various conspiracy theories about NASA, lost alien civilizations on the moon, and Mars, and other related topics. Hoagland has been documented to misappropriate others as professional achievements and is widely described as a conspiracy theorist and fringe pseudoscientist. Now, according to Hoagland, his educational background stops at the end of high school, receiving no formal education in any scientific field. Now, however, Hoagland does claim to have been the curator of astronomy and space sciences at the Springfield Science Museum from 1964 to 1967, and assistant director at the Gengras Science Center in West Hartford, Connecticut from 67 to 68, and the science advisor to CBS News during the Apollo program from 68 to 71. And he'll let you know about that. He'll tell you all his bona fides right off the bat, despite the fact that I don't really know if there's any real proof that he's done these things. But again, I don't know. He's been around for a long time, so he's going to say what he's going to say. Now, Hoagland has also made numerous appearances on Coast to Coast AM as the resident quote-unquote science advisor until being replaced by Robert Zimmerman in 2015. Now, Hoagland has claimed that NASA has indeed made numerous trips into space, but upon arrival found proof of life beyond our planet on the moon, as well as some of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, as well as Mars. Ancient civilizations on Mars, including asserting that the famous face on Mars is actually a remnant of an ancient temple or structure, as well as a new form of physics dubbed hyperdimensional physics. Now, Hoagland points to a Brookings Institute report entitled Proposed Studies on the Implications of Peaceful Space Activities for Human Affairs as proof that NASA is actively covering up the evidence of life on Mars. Now, this is kind of a little description of the report as well as some interesting quotes from the report, because it is actually a very interesting read. Now, this report, commissioned by NASA in 1960, is notable for one section, The Implications of a Discovery of Extraterrestrial Life, which examines the potential implications of such a discovery on public attitudes and values. The section briefly considers possible public reactions to some possible scenarios for the discovery of extraterrestrial life, stressing a need for further research in this area. It recommended continuing studies to determine the likely social impact of such a discovery and its effects on public attitudes, including study of the question of how leadership should handle the information about such a discovery and under what circumstances leaders might or might not find it advisable to withhold such information from the public. Now, some interesting quotes from the report include one like this. While face-to-face meetings with it being an extraterrestrial, will not occur within the next 20 years, that is the 1960s and 1970s, unless its technology is more advanced than ours, qualifying it to visit Earth, artifacts left at some point in time by these life forms might possibly be discovered through our space activities on the Moon, Mars, or Venus. Anthropological files contain many examples of societies sure of their place in the universe, which have disintegrated when they have had to associate with previously unfamiliar societies, espousing different ideas and different life ways. Others have survived such an experience, usually did so by paying the price of changes in values and attitudes and behavior. Now, these quotes, they're very interesting. The first quote is pointed to by Hoagland and some conspiracy theorists is sort of NASA and this Brookings Institute kind of giving the game away, saying they're kind of already saying that they know that we're going to have face-to-face contacts with aliens, or they're sort of alluding to the idea that it might have already happened because they already know so much. The second quote is essentially saying that those in charge, if they know about extraterrestrials and already had contact, that it's going to be up to them to then share that information with the public, but they need to be careful because sharing this kind of information with the public in the past has led to sort of a breakdown in society, has led to a breakdown in culture, and has sort of just shook the foundation of human life to the point where, older civilizations and societies, when faced with these kind of things, just kind of crumble. So it's a very ominous kind of idea that if we were to discover a kind of extraterrestrial life in our search through space for whatever is out there, that if we did find something and did have contact or found artifacts or what have you, that the powers that be might choose to not even share that and keep it a secret, and therefore fulfilling the sort of the self-fulfilling cycle of conspiracy theories, or something like this, where it's a paper with theories, kind of circles itself back around to, well, they're already saying that this possibility could happen, and they won't share the information with us, potentially because it could be for the better of humankind. So therefore, it probably already happened, and they're not sharing the information with us. But it is a very interesting paper, and it is online. It's a real paper, and it's free for anyone to read. So if you want to read the whole thing, it's a little long. But those are some of the more interesting bits of the paper right there. Excuse me. Now, Hoagland is a big proponent of the belief in the Cydonia hypothesis. Now, this is from a paper published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration in 1991 entitled The Cydonian Hypothesis. It stated, evidence suggesting a past humanoid civilization has been found at several sites on Mars. In particular, what appears to be large carved faces with similar details have been found at 2 separate sites. Together with geochemical and geological evidence that suggests Mars was once more human-like in climate, the images of the objects support the Cydonian hypothesis that Mars once lived as the Earth now lives, and that it was once the home of an indigenous humanoid intelligence. Now, the paper goes into great detail examining what it claims are structures on Mars and the Cydonia region, and I actually have another little slideshow for you that I'm going to put on, showing the face on Mars as well as the Cydonia region, because it's a very heavily studied area of Mars. Now, the structures on Mars in the Cydonia region are said to have resembled pyramids, with the crown jewel being the face on Mars. The face on Mars was first discovered after a 1976 Viking 1 photograph revealed what appeared to be a human-like face staring back at the camera. The object or structure is located at 40.75 degrees north latitude and 9.46 degrees west longitude and is 2 kilometers long, or about 1.2 miles. A more high-definition photo of the face was taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter sometime in 2006. This image shows the mesa, or the face on Mars, but seems to dispel the rumor of the face as the details that make up the features have been lost. Now, I'm going to pause the slideshow on the face over here if I can get back to it. There we go. And as you can see, it's definitely a higher definition photo. You have the original photo taken in the 70s of the face on Mars on Cydonia in the bottom right, and then sort of superimposed in the left is the more high definition picture. Now, NASA and scientists are claiming that this face on Mars is just it's sort of like a mental trick of the mind, of the eye, where humans are kind of predisposed into seeing patterns when there aren't patterns, and definitely seeing faces in objects that don't have a face. Like if you look at the front of a car, our brains automatically apply sort of a face to like the two lights in the bumper, kind of make like a face there and what have you. It's just like a thing that humans do. And that's what they're saying the face on Mars is. Having said that, looking at these high definition pictures, I don't know. I know I just kind of explained what's going on with this, but I still look at this picture and kind of see the face. And in fact, some conspiracy theorists, through kind of some photo editing and kind of turning up the contrast and the brightness and kind of messing with the photo, definitely give the face more detail when you kind of mess with the light a little bit. And some say that the face itself has sort of some eyes and even some teeth in the mouth, which is crazy. Now it's 9:38. I totally forgot to throw up the old open lines over here, but yes, it is open lines for the show. So 520-704-7820 if you'd like to call in and talk about some space stuff over here with your good host Samba over here. But let's get back into the face on Mars over here. But I'm going to leave that picture up there. In fact, I'm just going to turn the slideshow back on so you can see the rest of the pictures. But yeah, that's the face on Mars. Now, structures like the face on Mars have led some scientists to claim that these are evidence of a past alien life. Now, Dr. Horace Crater, former professor of physics at the University of Tennessee Space Institute, now deceased, published a paper in the Journal of Scientific Exploration entitled The Mounds of Cydonia, Elegant Geology or Tetrahedral Geometry and Reactions of Pythagoras and Dirac. Now, this is from collectiveevolution.com. The main premise of the article is that these structures, if indeed artificial, provide an elegant and concise way for the intelligent species to transmit another human intelligence's evidence that it understands that the basics of tetrahedral geometry, prime numbers, and the quantum mechanics of the electron spin, thereby giving additional evidence for the possibility of intelligent intervention. Now, having said that, some researchers have studied these photographs and claim that NASA might be airbrushing or manipulating the images to appear softer and less defined, taking with it any claims of an alien-made structure. So, much like conspiracy theorists have kind of poured through these photos and kind of done their own photo editing to kind of bring out hidden details that they say are kind of washed away by the quality of some of the older photographs. They also claim that NASA is doing some photo editing of their own and kind of airbrushing away a lot of the details to kind of dispel the rumors that this is an actual structure and not just sort of a natural object. So, conspiracy theories goes both ways. But anyway, so I'm going to turn that little slideshow off over here as we continue into this delicious night meat over here. Now, Hoagland has also claimed that the original Apollo space launches were conceived as a kind of alien reconnaissance, followed by an alien artifacts retrieval program. He also claims that JFK had little interest in space until the discovery of potential alien life on the moon. Now, this is from a paper written by Hoagland promoting his 2007 book, Dark Mission. He says, "We now believe this is the reason by which President John F. Kennedy, reported to be totally disinterested in space, was quietly convinced to announce his historic decision to send men to the moon and return them safely to the Earth within a decade in May of 1961. This is widely believed then and now to be Kennedy's effort to demonstrate to the world the superiority of the American system as opposed to Soviet communism. However, at the United Nations on September 20th, 1963, the president suddenly issued a public invitation to the Soviets, only 2 years into the Apollo race to the moon, an offer of a cooperative joint U.S.-USSR lunar expedition. Of course, if there was a hidden agenda to Apollo, this move would have revealed that the prime objective was not to beat the Soviet Union, but to covertly find and return samples of the incredibly advanced lunar technology that had been waiting on the moon for eons, and then to share them with the Soviets. Curiously enough, a mere 2 months following Kennedy's startling UN proposition, the president was killed. So there was never a joint U.S.-Soviet space mission, unfortunately. Now, Hoagland also claims there's a dark occult element behind much of NASA's research. Now, from the same paper, he said, the enthusiastic architects of the continuing NASA Brookings cover-up, in part, are the same heroes we have been encouraged to worship as some of the leading pioneers of our technological era. Their names are synonymous with America's achievements in space science and rocket engineering. In many cases, they are also men with secret pasts. Germans, Egyptians, Englishmen, and Americans, men at the very fringes of rational thought and conventional wisdom. These literal fringe elements, then, are divided into three main groups inside the agency, as best as we can tell. Now these fringe groups, he calls them the magicians, the Masons, and the Nazis, and deal with each group separately. Each sect is led by prominent individuals and supported by lesser-known players. Each has stamped their own agenda on our space program in indelible but untraceable ways. And each, remarkably, is dominated by a secret or occult doctrine that is far more closely aligned with ancient religion and mysticism than it is with the rational science and cool empiricism these men promote to the general public as NASA's overriding mantra. Now, using commercially available celestial mechanics or astronomical software, we have been able to establish a pattern of behavior on NASA's part that points to something truly as inexplicably as it is exotic. A bizarre internal obsession by the agency with three gods and goddesses, reaching across the millennia directly from ancient Egypt: Isis, Osiris, and Horus. It is these same three Egyptian gods, whose mythic story has been documented by many Egyptologists and authors, including Christopher Knight and Robert Lomas, that they are also key to understanding the history of the Masonic Order. As we show in Dark Mission, it is the same mythology that is also the heart of the belief system of the NASA magicians and Nazis as well. This ritual Egyptian symbolism, secretly practiced by NASA throughout these past 5 decades, publicly shows up only in its repeating blatant choices of simple mission patch designs. So those are the parting words of Richard Hoagland over here, talking about how he feels as though NASA's secret occult background is still going on, and that they have this weird obsession with sort of Egyptian history and these three gods, Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Right now we're going to watch a little sort of a supercut of a UFO documentary that's called Aeon of Horus, and it kind of goes into some detail. Now, the documentary is about an hour and a half. I've cut it down to, I think, about 10 minutes, some of the juicier bits. It was produced in 2017, but it looks like it was made back in like 99. I don't know. It's a very weird documentary. Now, it was produced by a man by the name of Jim Nichols, who has also directed other UFO-related documentaries, including the Aldebaran Mystery, UFOs: A Game of Perception, and UFOs Reconsidered, Secret Advanced Technology and UFOs. He put out this documentary. You can find it online. It's also on Amazon and I believe on YouTube and on the iTunes store. So you can find it a lot of different places, but you can just watch it for free on YouTube if you'd like, on the UFO TV On Demand YouTube page. Now, this documentary goes into kind of a lot of the details that I've already kind of got into, but it does kind of explain in a little more detail some of the connections with these ancient Egyptian gods, because I do find that very interesting, because I myself have somebody who I've talked to a number of times about their kind of, I wouldn't say obsession, but their sort of, I don't know, they praise Egyptian gods. So let's get into this little documentary clip over here, and we'll talk about it if we have a little bit of time at the end of the show.
Born on October 12, 1875, in Warwickshire, England, Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He was responsible for founding the religion and philosophy of sexual magic, Thelema, in which role he identified himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century. In 1898, he joined the esoteric Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he was trained in ceremonial magic. Like many of that era, Crowley was something of a crusading militant intellectual, determined to break down the conventions of accepted social morality. Later he traveled to Mexico and then India to study Hindu and Buddhist practices. In 1904 he married Rose Edith Kelly, and they honeymooned in Cairo, Egypt. In the Great Pyramid, Crowley conducted an occult ritual intending to access supernatural powers. The black magic ritual held in the Great Pyramid marked an unexpected turning point in Crowley's life. The following day he recounted, "Rose got into a strange state of mind. I had never seen anything like it before. She kept on repeating, dreamily yet intensely, 'They are waiting for you. They are waiting for you.'" When Crowley asked Rose who was waiting, she kept repeating that it was Horus, an Egyptian god. Rose knew nothing of magic and even less of Egyptology, making it highly unlikely that she was receiving a message from the gods. But to test what Rose was saying, he took her to the Cairo Museum. And although Rose had never visited the museum before, she rushed through the rooms filled with ancient artifacts, until suddenly she stopped dead before case number 666. "There he is," she insisted.
Spooky.
Within the case was the image of the god she claimed to have seen in her vision. The god Horus. Over the next 3 days, at precisely the same time, an unearthly voice dictated to Crowley the Book of the Law, the book that would become the Bible of his new religion. Following their fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid, Crowley's wife Rose mysteriously proclaimed that the Equinox of the gods has come. The alleged superhuman intelligence contacted by Aleister Crowley during his visit to Egypt was named Aiwass, who declared, "I am a god of war and vengeance," and then dictated to Crowley a work called the Book of the Law, which prophesied wars and revolutions, leading to the collapse of Christian civilizations and the dawn of the Aeon of Horus. According to another Crowley student, Kenneth Grant, Aiwass is an extraterrestrial from Sirius, the stellar representation of the Egyptian goddess Isis.
Now, real quick, so this Aiwass character that Crowley said he talked to, it's honestly one of the more interesting bits I find about Crowley. The drawing he made, it honestly does really very closely resemble, and this is before sort of alien grays had become popular. It resembles the sort of accepted imagery, sort of the pop culture imagery of what we consider alien grays. So it's a very weird kind of connection, and a very weird, quote unquote, coincidence that his drawing of this sort of entity, this maybe demon, looks a lot like the alien grays of ufology. So I don't know, very interesting.
Years later, from January through March of 1918, Crowley began another series of sexual magic ceremonies in New York City called the Amalantra Workings, in a Central Park West apartment to intentionally open a portal of entry allowing demonic and other similar entities a passageway to access our earthly world reality. Crowley was convinced that seeking contact with supernatural beings offered the only salvation to the human race. My observation of the universe convinces me that there are beings of intelligence and power of a far higher quality than anything we can conceive of as human, that they are not necessarily based on the cerebral and nervous structures that we know, and that the one and only chance for mankind to advance as a whole is for individuals to make contact with such beings. His ritual in New York established contact with an entity called Lam. Lam being a Tibetan word for pathway or pathfinder. Lam was considered to be of interdimensional origin, which was the term then for extraterrestrial. Crowley's drawing of Lam bears a striking resemblance to what has become commonly referred to as the Gray Aliens. Slight-bodied, big-headed, large dark-eyed mannequin creatures which are primarily an American phenomenon. And it is interesting to note that all the Lam workings were done in America. Reports of these UFO-associated entities later became prevalent in the popular culture of the 1980s thanks to Whitley Strieber's best-selling book, Communion.
Excellent book,
as well as many of the Hollywood alien movies that would follow. The rift in between the spaces of the stars, created by the Amalantra working, opened a gateway through which Lam and other extra-cosmic influences could enter the known universe, and more specifically, our Earth-world reality. But according to occultists involved in such things, the portal has since widened, thanks in part to additional hermetic tinkering by Jack Parsons. Following Crowley's fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid in 1904, his wife Rose proclaimed that the Equinox of the gods has come. According to the Book of the Law that he transcribed, the rulership of three gods has held a determining force on the fate of the world throughout human history. First was the Aeon of Isis, whose reign was matriarchal and nurturing. Next was the Aeon of Osiris, her consort, whose influence was patriarchal, destructive, and full of turmoil. The Aeon of Horus, child of Isis and Osiris, was ushered in by Crowley, and is the age we live in today. Horus, as ruler, is but a child, and throughout this age we will witness the child maturing, and thus the stability of the world solidifying gradually into more harmonious new ways of thought. However, the Aeon of Horus will be preceded by an era of great violence, aggression, and fire. In 1969, assuming the Apollo 11 astronauts actually landed on the moon, while Neil Armstrong hopped about on his moonwalk, 32nd degree Freemason astronaut Buzz Aldrin was performing a solemn Masonic ritual to honor Isis inside the lunar module. His Masonic flag, which accompanied him to the moon and back, is now an honored relic on display at the Scottish Rite Freemason Temple in Washington, D.C. Is it conceivable that high initiates within NASA had been made aware from certain Aleister Crowley channelings that specific artifacts existed on the Moon, Mars, and even Venus that were essential components for the continued advancement of this hermetic understanding and alchemical mastery? That the alchemical Holy Grail lies just beyond our grasp on the Moon or Mars?
Here's that meat.
Just prior to World War II, when Jack Parsons was experimenting with rocket engines in Pasadena's Arroyo Seco, on the other side of the country, 33rd degree Freemason and head of the National Science Foundation, Dr. Vannevar Bush, was working with noted Harvard astronomer Dr. Donald Menzel to develop the differential analyzer, an analog computer capable of predicting centuries ahead the future positions of stars and planets from any point in the solar system. An indispensable tool that would eventually allow NASA to accurately predict planetary configurations related to flight mission specifics, not to mention arcane astrological configurations. Curiously, following the Roswell UFO crash in 1947, both Drs. Vannevar Bush and Donald Menzel were to figure prominently as major players on President Truman's top-secret Magic 12 UFO investigation team, thus considering the profound influence of Aleister Crowley over Jack Parsons at the inception of JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, and its subsequent intrinsic association with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. do we dare surmise that major space exploration projects have been deeply influenced, if not directed, by Crowley's alleged associations with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional entities. As early as 1918, Crowley's aliens revealed the existence of tantalizing artifacts on Mars.
All right, we're coming to the end here. Just 2.5 minutes. Sorry if this is too long. But I had to watch a whole hour and a half of this, so you have to watch 10 minutes. It should not be
surprising to discover that the sole individual responsible for selection of the Apollo landing sites was himself an Egyptian. Dr. Farouk El-Baz was born in Cairo, Egypt, and educated in the United States. He was a geologist who taught in Germany and the United States before becoming involved with NASA's space program in 1967, when he applied for a position at Belcom, the corporation handling communication systems for the Apollo program. But after El-Baz came on board, Belcom's job description underwent a significant change. They were now suddenly in charge of selecting the actual landing sites for the Apollo program. In fact, El-Baz was solely in charge of the site selection process. El-Baz became the guy who picked all of the landing sites, controlled the dissemination and analysis of all the photography, and directly oversaw the astronauts' geological training, preparing them for what they would actually observe on the lunar surface. In short, he was the most powerful single individual in the American space program. And it just so happens that El-Baz's father was an expert in the ancient Egyptian stellar religions of Isis and Osiris. So basically you have the son of an expert on the Osiris cults picking the landing sites where all the occult stellar alignments take place. All of the NASA landing site selection meetings were private, all of their meetings were classified, and none of their paperwork has been declassified. Now, lest there be any lingering doubts about NASA's occult devotion to ancient Egypt, consider the name of its pending 2016 robotic asteroid landing mission.
There it is right there.
OSIRIS-REx.
There it is.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom,
there's the meat.
And we were discussing the lie. Everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true.
Boom. There we are. That was the final meat of the night. There you go. Again, sorry if that was a little long. Again, the documentary is like an hour and a half. It came out in 2017, but again, it looks like it was produced in like 2000. We all have, limited technology. We're not all on big budget systems over here. I mean, I had to raise enough money through an OnlyFans to purchase a spacecraft to launch me into space, but we all can't, be doing that. So anyways, that's the documentary. Little supercut Aeon of Horus, if you want to find that over on YouTube or Amazon Prime. I think it's on that, as well as the iTunes Store and the UFO TV On Demand YouTube page if you want to watch the whole thing. But it's pretty much exactly like that. So that's pretty much the end of the occult history of NASA and our space program. Now, the connection I had that I was talking about is on season 1, I had my good friend Dale called in, and he is what he considers himself to be a modern day occultist, and he told the story of kind of going from kind of a very Crowleyan and Thelema, that sort of a foundation of a magical practice, to now him kind of delving into and kind of on a daily basis, his practice being more geared towards Egyptian gods. And so, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get him on the show, but he is one of the ones front and center who believe in the power of these sort of ancient Egyptian gods. So I don't know. I found that very interesting that is sort of deeply entrenched in the conspiracy world when it comes to what NASA potentially might be doing behind closed doors. Now, before we get off the air tonight, I want to check the comments over here because it looks like it was popping off a little bit. Eggs and Eyes, I feel like I've heard theories about NASA doctoring photos to hide things things before and other things too, which makes no sense to me. Like, why even share the photos at all if it's hush-hush? Yeah, again, I mean, these are big government organizations, and with NASA, they try to be as transparent as possible. According to them, they release a lot of photos that their high-definition satellites take of the Earth, as well as the Moon. I mean, there's plenty of footage now of that Perseverance Mars rover that just made touchdown the other week, and is already sharing pictures and audio and video of the landing and the descent. They try to share that as much as possible, and of course that's going to be fodder for conspiracy theorists. I've already read some people saying that that wasn't even real anyway. I mean, how hard would it be to fake sort of like a small drone-like craft landing in some soundstage somewhere on a pile of dirt? I don't know. But why share them at all? To keep up the public image that we're going to space and that all is hunky-dory. Lanza, they don't care if we know or not. There you go. They probably don't even care. Exactly, but they clearly do. Haha, they'll disclose just enough to leave huge gaps in stories and history. It just seems weird how selective they are. Who's to say the reasonings behind NASA? I mean, we help fund this kind of thing, I believe, through some taxes and whatnot, but they're only going to give us the information they want to give us. Yes, Fire in Sky, Eggs and Eyes. Yes, one of my favorite films, Fire in the Sky, they're using some footage from that during the documentary. Are the Illuminati symbols just like this stupid ass we all drew as kids? Like, are they all weird remnants of things that actually have meaning? I mean, that is this goes deep in the... that is a theory when it comes to a lot of symbolism, symbology, with company logos, the McDonald's M, Walmart logo, I don't know, any kind of logos potentially in the realm of conspiracy, as well as the occult can be considered sigils, imagery used to kind of for you to impose your energy and your will onto as physical manifestations to help manifest that will. And, I'm not trying to get super deep on that little weird ass S that we used to draw as kids, but stuff like that can be seen as sort of as sigils, as sigil magic, using imagery to impart will on. So I don't know where that S came from, but who knows where it came from. Excuse me, Leonza, no, not at all. So fucking meaty. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed watching that 10-minute documentary. So please, Leonza, check it out over on YouTube if you're interested in watching the whole thing. All I hear is breathing. Yeah, this guy making the documentary, Jim Nichols, he wasn't using any kind of noise reduction, or was kind of turning his head when he was breathing. I don't know. Maybe he's eating all those hamburgers and stuff that Eggs and Eyes just put on there on the chat over here. Let's see, Benjamin. Let's go. Yes, let's go, Benjamin. Eggs and Eyes. What's your OnlyFans profile, Samba? Look up Jujubean at gobat.com on OnlyFans, and you'll find my OnlyFans profile. It's free. I have a free profile, and I have one that costs about 50 bones to get on if you want to see the good stuff. Eggs and Knives. I've seen Mandalorian, bro. Shit looks like space to me. Well, you know better than anyone, Eggs and Eyes, that the Mandalorian was shot in like one little room that they just like, not even CGI, they just do that new projection technology to like form worlds around you. And Eggs and Eyes. Walmart, Jesus, yeah. Well, even Walmart too. All these big companies making a ton of money. It's not an accident. It's just sigil magic. Anyways, that is the end of the show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning into Tarantula's Dream TV, broadcasting across the Instagram airwaves live every Wednesday night from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'll be back next week with another hot topic over here, as well as on Monday I'll be over on the terrestrial FM airwaves on 99.1 FM downtown radio for Tarantula's Dream Radio. We'll have a new set of some sick punk music, maybe another theme night, maybe another vinyl only set. It is what it is. I don't know. Looks like I got a couple more comments over here before I get off. Quiverlip, E.T. Eggs and Eyes. Thanks, Samba. Well, thank you, Eggs and Eyes. Leons, it looks like space behind Samba. Hey, I'm floating back here. It cost me a lot of money to get up here. Eggs and Eyes giving me the old satanic hand sign over there. Anyways, let me fade in this music over here. My old theme song played by Jim McGuinn and the Cosmic Cowboys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Please check me out next week. I'll have a hot new topic, a new little teaser video over the weekend. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. We're so fucking close to getting vaccinated and just feeling like maybe we'll feel a little more comfortable getting together, and maybe someday I'll be able to do like a live show on location. I don't know. Only time will tell. Anyways, please, everyone, wear a mask, social distance if you can, and remember, it's a weird world out there. Weird world. Take care.